more than 70% of the diseases are the diseases which are, they're caused because of the mind. My country needs me. I would rather become, a king in a poor country, but not the slave in a richer country. And still follow Bhagwan Osho, Rajneesh. Okay. And I used to love his, speeches and some of his live discourses I had attended and all that.
So you're a doctor, you're an entrepreneur, and you are actively involved in social service with Rotary.
The Whisper Sanitary Napkin in Pune was launched by me from our marketing perspective. So a lady comes to me and says that she wants to go to US and maybe she wants to prepone or postpone her menses. I've never even taken, in the last 40 years of time, a single course in my life.
Unbelievable. Let's talk about your journey. Where were you born? Why did you decide medicine? Let's understand and hear your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you and talk something about my own self. I come from a medical background for 3 generations. So it's a very simple question. If you ask anybody where were you born, the answer can be I was born in a hospital. But I was born in my own hospital.
Okay.
So my father was running a hospital and I was born, I stayed and I was, grown up in the hospital premises in my childhood. So our family originally is from Karnataka state.
Okay.
Very close to Belgavi, a place called Chikodi. But I have been brought up in Pune itself, right from my birth. So then the stories was like my grandfather was a part of the medical team when Mahatma Gandhi was operated for his general surgery work in Sir David General Hospital in Pune. And he still has the portrait there. And my father always did a lot of philanthropy service for lots of villages and poor people in and around Pune in those days. So that was my schooling time, you can say. I had the affiliation towards medicine, but it was not my focus.
It was not. So, as you said that you were like your parents were, your father was and grandfather also belonged to the same medicine line, and I also know that you have a lot of legacy of freedom fighters. So, is it that only your grandfather was actively involved, or in general the entire family was?
The family was part of all this 1947 mission. And
okay.
so they believed, in those days, of course, there was only Congress, and the Congress was only for pro-India or pro-Bharat movement. It was not a political Congress in those days. So everyone belonged to that field in those years. And I was more inclined actually towards the defense.
Defense. Very unusual, right? In a
very
medical family.
Very unusual.
Yes.
So I used to do my, a lot of my National Cadet Corps. So I did from NCC Air Wing. And in those days, the NCC Air Wing A, B, and C grades used to be there.
Okay.
And the fun of these 3 grades was if you finish C, then you can go into a National Defense Academy without their entrance.
Okay.
So I did my air wing, I did my flying that time, did all my shooting, and I was all ready and set to go to NDA and do Air Force. So that was my, inclination towards my career in those days.
So then how come medicine? What was the trigger?
Oh, the trigger was, I think, mom's love. Mom said, you're the only son. And it will be good that if you carry forward the legacy of this family and, serve the humanitarian needs more. And which is also equal to the defense. That was her, But I think people were a little scared in those days to send the only child in defense. Not very right, but that feeling used to happen in that kind of, if you have one single child, then the parents will always feel about it. And the second thing was, she always said that maybe you can become a good doctor and buy an aircraft. But if you go to Air Force, then you cannot become a good doctor. So you can have, go to medicine and still go and be a pilot and fly. But if you just do Air Force, then maybe you'll not be able to do medicine. Anyway, that was not a very convincing thing. And I left a very good opportunity at that time.
Okay, so do you regret that?
Well, I still regret, but then I pursued my hobbies and I still, cope up with all those aero modeling shows, Air India show, flying, a lot of adventure sports. So I still live my civilian life, but in tune with the defense life.
Understood. So, do you go back to your hometown, and in any way, are you, doing something for them?
Yes, I've been going there a couple of times. In fact, a few years back, my uncle, he expired. And that was the last call he was trying to make from that hometown, from a normal dial tone phone. In those days, the mobile was not there.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no intensive care unit, there was no ultramodern hospital or facility. And I spoke to him just when he had his last breath.
Okay.
And when I drove from there, my parents at that time were not in India. So I went and drove there, and surprisingly, I saw that there was no intensive care unit, there was no electrical crematorium. And it was a monsoon.
Okay.
And we had to cut lots of woods and get the dry woods, put him on a dry wood there, and we ourselves burned him. And that triggered me, that when people do migrations from the smaller places to the bigger, larger cities, and how we make these crowded metros, but then we forget that what are our old threads. So in that process now, I'm in the process that I will set up a new, ultra-modern intensive care unit in my hometown. We'll get some electrical crematorium. Of course, now the era has also changed. The Karnataka state has grown up very well. But I feel that everyone should give some time to think from where they are, from which school, which town, and how they can contribute to that.
So you're a doctor, you're an entrepreneur, and you are actively involved in social service with Rotary. How are you managing these three different profiles?
Actually, everybody has a DNA in their. Every human has a DNA. I feel that my DNA was always into becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay.
I still remember when I finished my schooling and went to my medical college. While I was studying medical college, I used to read a lot of things that earn and learn concepts of overseas.
Okay.
And it was very new in India that you earn and learn together. And for me, I didn't find it very different. So I used to go and buy medicines from the retail shops on a cycle and come and sell it to the various hospitals.
Okay.
So I learned pharmacology by selling the medicines, not actually from the pharma books. And then slowly, steadily, even in my medical college days, I got some distributions from these pharma companies. In fact, the Whisper sanitary napkin in Pune was launched by me from our marketing perspective. Then I came up with Johnson. Yeah, quite interesting. Yeah. And then I started working with Johnson's various products, then surgical products, while I was studying. And that's the way I started actually developing a corpus. When I finished my med, I should start, making my own hospital. I should give the employment to people. And that was a very early time, where people used to think that let's go overseas so you can earn a lot of money. So once I also went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, in US. And I gave my interview there and I told them my dream, my work. And they were very happy. They said, you can come and join us. But then when I came back, I said, no, I think my country needs me. And I would rather become, a king in a poor country, but not the slave in a richer country. And whatever I can, with my own wisdom, my efforts, let me give it to my own country. And they said, I will not settle overseas. And I gave that opportunity of Johns Hopkins, and I said, let me be here. And then I finished my grad. And while I finished my grad, I had already decided that I need to give employment to people. And at a very young age, around about 25 years, I put the first stone laying for my hospital.
25 is too young in age for anyone to start a hospital, and especially in 1991 when we had so much of chaos in the country in terms of India, not having enough funds. So how did you take such a bold decision at 25?
Yeah, like I said, if the vision is clear, that I don't want to work, that was my first principle. I said I will not do any job. Maybe even I'll start up with a small thing, like now the new funda which talk of the startups we call it. So I said, let me have this like a startup. Maybe I'll start with the 5-bed. I'll start with 2 or 3 doctors. I'll start with a smaller equipment and slowly, steadily progress on that. And I think that focus was very clear, and that made me to go into that. Of course, I had a lot of issues with the financing because the entire system in India is you need to have either a grey hair or a no hair to get money. The banks, they feel, oh, such a young guy has come, such a
and
small child has come.
that too in 1991,
Yeah.
as I said, India was at a very different juncture. Yes.
And plus, our prerequisites are different. If a young person goes to a financial institute will say, give me your last 5 years of income tax returns.
Absolutely.
Then give me your future vision plan, how you are going to convert this into profitability. Give me the guarantors, give me the collateral securities. So here, we don't encourage young people to become entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
At least when we started all that.
Yeah.
And that was a very tough time. Who will become my guarantor? Who will give me funding? And if at all by any means, the moratorium period is when you don't pay to the bank for a certain time.
Right.
If that gets lapsed, then what happens? So these all were the challenges.
So when you started, who was your biggest inspiration?
In fact, I had a very different inspiration. I actually, followed and still follow Bhagwan Osho, Rajneesh.
Okay.
And I used to love his, speeches and some of his live discourses I had attended and all that. So not necessary that, from which professional background you are, you need to follow that person. But Osho always, spoke very, very clear, and which was a very, very heart-touching to me. And one of the sentences which he had said, that how to rejoice your own death. And he said, your death has to be recreational. People should enjoy your death, thinking how you lived your life, rather than crying and thinking that you have missed that soul. And I really liked that concept. And that motivated me to live a life. That we should live a life that we are at the end of your life, so people will rejoice your existence when you're in life. I think whatever I did after that, I used to always think about this, and that's the way I kept on going on that.
3 things you liked about Osho.
One is no hidden agenda. Talk very blunt, because most of these babas and gurus and all our philosophy talks very, very sugar coated. It's like they always talk behind the bush. But what people feel, we, especially the Asians and the Indians, we don't talk the truth. Everybody likes many things, but we don't talk the truth. Because we feel that if we talk the truth, maybe someone will get offended.
Yeah, it's
some
difficult for
religion
them
will be
to
touched. Some political agenda will unnecessarily hyped up. So we always go and run behind the truth. So first thing which I liked was Osho's absolutely straightforward talking. Second, all his discourses, whichever he used to have, the conceptual of white robe and the red robe, and some of the programs like the Born Free. So Born Free was a program that in spite of your age, you unleash your emotions, your laughters, your cry, your gestures, and you just open everything like a child. And today also, if you see your childhood photos, you'll find them smiling. See your childhood behavior, you'll find them natural. We always say child is like a god.
Yeah.
And as we start growing, then we become so conscious. Then after marriage, we become more conscious. So we actually, we start becoming like a chameleons. We forget and we start putting up that kind of a curtain.
Yeah, the mass
Mass.
keep increasing as we age, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think we live more for the people in and around, thinking that what they will think about you, but we don't think what you think about you. I think that again, second thing pulled me. And third, I can have a lot of things about him, but I can shortlist one more thing. There's a concept called work meditation.
Okay. What's
And
that?
I served in a center called Pythagoras. So Pythagoras was a center to give medical services to global citizens of all Osho visitors.
Okay.
But the concept of work meditation was every human has some skill set. There is no human in this world who is born without a skill set.
Absolutely.
So whatever skill set you have, you do that without taking any money as a volunteer. So someone who's an artist that will come and just sing, someone can just paint, someone who's a good cook can come and work in the kitchen, and you start enjoying that into a work meditation format.
Mm-hmm.
Now that gave me two things. One is the dignity of labor.
Right.
Whoever is having a skill set, they can actually have the dignity of work. And second, inclination towards the volunteer. And I think that he introduced, and I believe me, I saw more than 100 country people coming there and working. Used to come there, work for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months just as a volunteers. And absolutely that changed my concept of life.
And you're talking about that era when you were in 20s, right?
Right.
And you were a doctor who has a logical, analytical mind, and you are taking inspiration from a spiritual guru. So, do you think science and spirituality are connected anyway? Because there is always this talk that spirituality is unreal, it is not scientific. So, is there any connect? Do you see? Because you have been a practicing, science person, medicine person who's living science every single day. So, how do you see both these
No, I
having an
think
correlation?
the spirituality and emotions, they sometimes overshines on science. See, for simple things, now India, in olden time, we used to have a concept called a family doctor. I'm sure you
Yes,
must be
yes.
having it in
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah. All
families.
of us.
Yeah.
All of us.
So, a family doctor concept was he will know your family. He will
Yes.
know your granny, he will
Yes.
know your mother,
Yes, yes.
he will know your maybe husband, children. So he knows everything of your family, what you eat, what are your habits,
Mhm.
how is the culture in your family. And whenever the family doctor is to come to home, even without medication, even if he comes and his presence is there, 50% disease will go off.
I agree. Agree.
Then he will touch and just see your pulses, and then you will feel good about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, here I'm not trying to be a non-scientific.
Yes.
What I'm trying to explain to you here is believe that more than 70% of the diseases are the diseases which are, they're caused because of the mind. And 30% diseases are such which requires the medication. And 70% is a big chunk.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Because
Yes.
it's the mind and the psychology which makes you ill. And that's I have a very different belief in terms of the science and medicine is concerned. In science, they consider two organs. They consider heart and they consider brains.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen a death certificate. On a death certificate, you'll always find a cause of a death written that heart dead or a brain dead.
Yeah, that's how they say, like the person was brain dead, either he was brain dead or heart dead.
Yeah.
These are the two lingos, I think. That's common lingos.
But there is another organ which is very silent, and that's called a mind dead. So when we see people who are mind dead but still living, that itself is a challenge. I think for that challenge, you need these kind of therapies.
So you mean to say that we need to live a very integrated life where everything is respected in a way that it becomes part of our journey in such a way that we are living a very holistic life where everything is so minutely woven in our daily life that we actually see the impact happening, right? So have you seen these things? Have you seen any examples from your day-to-day practice that you do where you see that there is some miracle that's happening?
Oh yes, actually, if you really compare today's lifestyle and not very old, I cannot consider myself as a very old man, but what I'm suggesting is, see, today's lifestyle, everybody is they want a quick remedy.
Yes.
No one,
Instant
no, no, no one
gratification.
has the patience.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's something like a black and white TV era
Yes.
where you had only one channel for Doordarshan, and you'll wait for even one chai git, or one tabassum of Phool Ke Liye Gulshan Gulshan on Friday,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and one
Chitrahar.
Saptaki on Sunday.
Yes.
But we used to wait and we used to have patience.
Mm-hmm.
But today, with hundreds of channels, what are you doing? You're flipping the channels, and you're watching the advertisements, and the content you're getting it very less. It's the same life. People come to me, they say, Doc, I need to go to work tomorrow morning. I have a fever and I don't want a fever in the morning. The lady comes to me and says that she wants to go to US and maybe she wants to prepone or postpone her menses. And now with the new migration rules, sometimes they also say that I need a cesarean at the month of the 6th or 7th month of time. So the sensitivity of a natural cycle or a recourse, people have forgotten about. In the night, one does not get a sleep. They want a rest or a compose. A little bit of smallest infection, they want an antibiotic. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to kill our immunology system. Rather than you go to your own old systems of walk, cardiovascular fitness, have yoga, have your own good healthy diet. You don't need a whey protein to eat. There's so much good Indian diet. If you really go and compare, you can absolutely follow all that. And I always like that. You'll be surprised, but I've never even taken, in the last 40 years of time, a single crossing in my life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I'm very happy about it. So, totally away from that. So, unless and until there is a sepsis, which is more infectious, I don't advise anybody to go into all this kind of medication unnecessary.
But you're rightly saying that today, since we don't have patience, I think the resilience is not so much that we want to have these instant painkillers, we want to have these instant medicines which give you instant relief. And that's the reason I think that inner strength is going.
Definitely. And your self-confidence is going. Because you're not thinking that you have the power to overcome that disease or a situation.
Right.
You are becoming dependable. And when you start becoming dependable, that is the start of troubling your mind. Then one starts feeling that, whether I am sick, whether my face is looking different, whether I have wrinkles, whether I need a psychologist, whether I need some therapy. So this is the way the human starts into that change.
Understood. So you must be meeting a lot of patients, and a lot of them might be from female fraternity. So females are facing a lot of issues these days because of increasing PCOS, infertilities are increasing. So what is the cause of this? Is it stress or is it our lifestyle? What is leading to all the infertility issues in women?
See, we have to accept one thing is, in this changing era, the man and the women, they have become on an equal platform. If you see 50 years back, the woman was for the kitchen and the children growth. Today, if both of them are educated, both of them are equally talented, both of them are earning equally, sometimes even maybe one of them is doing a little better than the other one.
Absolutely.
So all these things happen. Now, what happens with that is, with the career challenges, they either want the late marriages. If they want the late marriages, they want the late children, or sometimes they don't want the children. So it is something like a format that when the actual age is there for the childbearing age, they want to push that age. Now, when they push that age, and now if they are not bearing the child, they start feeling that it's infertility. But the cycle of having a child is, I always tell all the parents, you should have the ability to run after the child and the strength. At that time, you should have the child. I can give a child to a woman who's maybe 48 or 50 years with infertility. But if she gets a child at 48, And when the child becomes 18, what will be her age?
Yes.
So I think that is something which needs to be calculated.
And we have forgotten all
We have
this.
forgotten all.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it's not a very far place. It's like a Japan that the first 50% of them don't get married. Those who get married, 80% they don't want children. So I think that lifestyle is going to happen in every country, and this is what is happening here.
Yeah, this is what we are. I think looking at India also, and a lot of Gen Zs don't want to have kids. They want to have pets. They don't believe in relations. So this is what is happening, and we are moving towards.
Earlier, I think the girl's age was around about 20, 21 to get married, maximum 22.
Yes.
Today, that age has come to 28 to 31. So we have already pushed the marriage age by 8 to 9 years. Now, after that, we are again pushing the child bearing age for further 3-4 years. So average age for the child bearing is become 35.
And why are girls why is every third girl having PCOS, and why girls are getting PCOS at such a young age? Even 12, even 18-year-old girls are having PCOS, and I also learned that girls are also getting periods at the age of 9. Why is this happening?
See, these are all hormonal changes. Basically, food, the sedentary lifestyle. So this is a cycle of life. I still remember, even like in our own families, if the girls were getting menses at the age of say 13, 14, and that time we used to hear that the overseas girls are getting the menses at the age of 8 and 9. But today I said, we have adopted the overseas lifestyle. And this is what exactly was happening. But it's basically a hormonal change. But there's nothing wrong. Even if you get a menses a little early, that's okay. That's absolutely a fine thing. But what alarms me more, because of this early age of all these symptoms, is our sex education in the schools has to be very, very strong. Because earlier we only said and talked about sex education, but we never talked freely. But today, I think the life is such, whether everybody accepts it or not, the fact is 90% of them have the live-in relation. They have sex before marriages. They have sometimes unsafe sex. So I think the health, hygiene, and what is important to the life, all that has to be very, very well spoken openly to boy and to girl in the school times. Because the diseases, there's so many diseases which are there, which can cause up from all this, whether it's hepatitis, whether it's HIV, whether it's a venereal disease. So I think all that needs to be talked very openly and given them, that kind of alarm that your life is much more important than all these things. So not to stop this, but maybe how to do it and how to prevent such bad things. I think this is very, very important subject.
And we are hearing that, as you rightly said, there are so many youngsters who are experiencing this, but because of lack of sex education, they're not able to kind of follow the right practices that are needed. And India has a lot of taboo attached to its sex education.
Absolutely.
So
not only sex education, but I think, Monica, you will be surprised that women are not even free to talk about their own gynec and obstetrics problems, even to their husbands, to their in-laws, even to the family. So many of them, even today, they don't know what is a cervix cancer. They don't know what is a breast examination. So basic things, and this is nothing to do with the educated or uneducated. So this issue is nothing to do with the literacy. Even so many literate people, they don't do these pap smear tests for women. And then at the stage, when everything goes off, then they feel that they should have been made aware of it. So I think these all discussions should come up on a very open platform. And there is absolutely nothing to hide or feel taboo or feel shy about it. And at least every mother's responsibility is this, that the mother should talk to her daughter and even the son very openly on
it. Right. So you decided to join Rotary. At what age you decided to join Rotary, and what was the trigger?
Yeah, actually, I didn't decide to join Rotary, but in my college days, I was very much involved in the student union and the university work. In those days, Pune University had several revenue districts under them. So lots of students' issues and problems I used to represent. When I became the chairman for the Students' Union in Pune University, I went on a synod and I did on faculty, medical faculty also. I was there. So I was more into steering every student's issues, whether the rural children or the urban children, and whether the colleges they give them opportunities, the fee structures, the examination structure. And slowly it started becoming into a lot of political scenario. And maybe I was thinking of even joining politics that time and become something like, go into the educational ministry and all that. And that time I came across one blind person. And he came and told me that, do you know about Rotary International? I said, no, I don't know anything. And he said, no, this is the world's largest NGO, a non-government organization, which has existence in more than 200 countries. And I belong from that, but I have some dream in my life. And can you help me? I was wondering, I said, this man is blind and he has a dream. And what is he asking from me? And, suddenly it triggered me with that Lionel Richie's song.
Okay.
And if you remember that song, it was a beautiful song, that hello, it's me you are looking for. And they have shown that that girl is blind and her lover is a singer. And when he's singing, she depicts his entire structure on a sculpture. And then I thought that this man has talking something, very visionary. So I talked to him more. I said, what is your dream? And I have this habit, asking people, what is your dream? So he said, my dream is that I don't want to see a person like me in life. Because a small infection in my eye, I lost my both eyes. And now I wish to build a big hospital, which will be the state's largest eye hospital.
Interesting.
And I need someone who's a trustworthy because I cannot see. And can you become my signatory?
Oh, wow.
And I was absolutely, taken back. I said, am I fit for this job? Because I'm not an ophthalmologist. I don't have experience in the blind. But then I started working for blind with Pune Blind Men's Association, Technical Training Institute. Then I went to World Blind Union, understanding all their issues, right? Launching the first talking book library. So you put a newspaper in a machine, and the machine will read in whichever language you want. And the blind people will listen to it. So then that way I just entered Rotary because of his vision. And I'm happy today that we built one of the largest eye hospitals, which caters to more than 100 surgeries per day free of cost. So a small, that's in Pune Blind Men's Eye Hospital.
100 surgeries
Per day.
Incredible. 100 surgeries and all free of cost. Wow. This is like a big milestone.
Yes.
And what keeps you going?